Israel's war cabinet is ordering negotiators to return to the table for a new round of hostage release talks.
That's right. This follows the IDF's completion of a two-day operation in the occupied West Bank. According to the Hamas-run Palestinian Health Ministry, at least 10 people are dead and more than 24 others were injured during the mission. Israeli officials say it was part of a crackdown against militants in the area. And it coincides with another deadly night across the Gaza Strip. The IDF is engaging in close combat with Hamas militants in the heart of Rafah. The clashes follow one of the most intense nights of strikes on Gaza's southernmost city since Israel began its offensive there in April.
Let's bring in CBS News foreign correspondent Imtiaz Tyab. You see him there in East Jerusalem. Imtiaz, this war cabinet instructing negotiators to resume hostage release discussions is significant. I think there was some graphic video released by relatives of one hostage in order to push things along unofficially. How significant is this move today?
Yeah, Errol, Lana, it is very significant. For weeks now, these talks have stalled. Some would argue these talks have stalled for months. In fact, the last time we saw any kind of agreement between Israel and Hamas to release hostages in exchange for Palestinian prisoners was all the way back in November. We're now nearly in June. But as you so rightly point out, last night, a group of Israeli families of female soldiers who were taken into Gaza on October 7th agreed to release footage of that moment. Now, this is footage taken from Hamas by the Israeli military, which shows these female soldiers inside Gaza. Now, this is very rare. It's not often that we will see footage of soldiers being held by Hamas. Oftentimes, it'll be civilians, but it's clearly had a response, not least from the Israeli public, who came out in their thousands to the streets here in Jerusalem and in Tel Aviv, demanding their government come to an agreement to see the release of the hostages. But now we're hearing from the Israeli government saying that they are going to try to restart talks in order to get this happen. These talks have been taking place in Cairo. The governments of Egypt, Qatar, as well as the U.S. have been negotiating between Israel and Hamas, who do not negotiate directly. And there is some hope that something could be done. But again, it has been so many months since anything's happened. And we've been speaking to the family of one of those soldiers in Gaza. And she told us that while she has hope, she's very, very wary of what could come next. Guys.
Imtiaz, let's discuss Rafah a bit, because Israel said it's going to be carrying out limited operations there. But as we just discussed, there are clashes, engaged in close combat with Hamas militants. Are the operations in Rafah expected to expand?
Yeah, and they have been considerably. Israel continues to describe it as a limited operation. They continue to describe it as precision strikes. Everything we're seeing suggests the opposite. Now, while it isn't fair to describe it as a full-scale invasion of Rafah, the violence there is extreme. In fact, over the past 2 weeks or so, we've seen over 800,000 Palestinians who were sheltering in Rafah, considered one of the last relatively safe places in Gaza as this war has raged on, to flee. This is, for many of them, the fourth or fifth time that they've been displaced, many of them going to an area with even less support and even less infrastructure. And so it really is an incredibly dire situation as the violence there continues. And very quickly, the Biden administration, as we know, has been very wary of Israel carrying out this offensive there. That appears to have changed in recent days. The Biden administration, we're hearing, satisfied with some of the moves that Israel has made in recent months in order to get civilians out of there. But that is small comfort for those civilians who have very little. Guys.
All right, Imtiaz Tyab there for us in Israel. Thanks, Imtiaz.